Happy holidays, and welcome to another Friday with Friends. I'm Patty with Let's Pour with Patty, and I'll be kicking us off for the evening. After me, Bill Roberson Art. After Bill is Mary with acrylic art by Mary Kirk. And for finishing us up is Billy at BCC Arts. Don't miss their videos, and if you're not subscribed, you can find their links down in my description. So, this time of year, basically from summer on to the holidays, is craft show season. And there is so much that you have to do to get ready for craft shows. Well, the thing we're going to focus on tonight is how I resin my pieces. Well, really, how Keith and I resin my pieces, my artwork. We've finished just about every piece with resin. So I'm taking you all the way back to the beginning when we did our very first resin pour in January 2024. I will discuss some things that we tried and learned our lessons from, and then we'll discuss what we do nowadays. It's winter right now here in northwestern Pennsylvania. And the only way we could figure out, considering we're clearly in my basement, how to combat the cold, because it's only like 59 degrees in my basement, is to put up this plastic room. I keep my paints in there. We keep a heater. Keith built me this amazing drying rack. And now we are in the process of learning how to do resin. But despite having this completely plasticed off, we are still getting little dust particles and hair particles in our resined pieces as they dry overnight. Keith is trying to now combat that by building these little boxes to reduce the amount of debris that can land on them. So there's that. What is it in here right now? I'll say it's 69 degrees in here. You shut that off and it drops down to 59 real quick. Thanks, babe. You can see this is one of the boxes Keith made. That was so early 2024. By September, Keith and I had learned so much about resining that we decided it's probably best if we share our process with you. It's very important to protect those backs to begin with.
Let's pour with Patty.
Let's pour with Patty. Woo!
Wee! I'm pouring with Patty.
All right, so let's talk resin. What kind do we use? We started with stone coat countertop resin because it's heat resistant up to 500 degrees. Now, the one problem with it is that it does take 3 to 4 weeks to fully cure. And it costs about $118 for a gallon set. Next, I got some art resin, which is only heat resistant up to 120 degrees. However, it fully cures in 72 hours, but it costs about $119 for a gallon set. Last, definitely not least, was the KS Resin Liquid Art Ultra UV. It is heat resistant up to 500 degrees. It fully cures in 72 hours, and it costs about $110 for a gallon set. The best buy so far. I have no affiliation with them. I'm just saying. So after coating each piece, making sure you have all edges nicely covered, it is imperative that you torch at least 3 times to get rid of all air bubbles. So the process that we have found that works best for us is this. After everything has fully cured, I will go through with a fine-tooth comb, okay, just my eyes, and I will search for all little pieces of debris and I will circle them. But here's a closer look at the process after I've gone through and circled all the imperfections that I can find. Keith, with his magical touch, will come in and he sands first with, he was starting with the 1500 grit sandpaper. Now he uses 2000 grit sandpaper. And then he goes back over again with like 5000 grit sandpaper. Here's a little closer look at him sanding. He wet sands everything until the little specks, you can tell when the debris is still there. See how it was like all kind of cloudy and foggy? Well, that was a good one. He got it all off. If there's still little really clear specks inside there, you need to keep sanding. Before we start polishing, we remove all the tape from the back, and then we start preparing, making sure we got all of the stuff that needs sanded, and then we start to buff it out. Now what we use is Auto Body Compound, the strongest one with the most cutting power. You kind of really want it to be gritty because it's going to work as basically another form of sandpaper, just much finer. These are the pads that we use. As you can see, the green is the most firm, and we use them the most. So I have a lot of green pads, and we use those to get scratches left from sanding down to the finest that we can. Now, we've learned a lot through trial and error, and it is very important to also clean your piece in between each buffing. Use lots of water, use a clean rag every time, and just make sure you get it as clean as you can. And as you can see, we use 2x4s for support when sanding and buffing.
I'll show how that makes it nice and sturdy when you put it down, so there's no give. Okay.
This is another piece that you can see even after sanding and buffing, he looked and I looked and I saw more imperfections, so he's gonna start from scratch and start sanding it again. And once we're satisfied, then we try to remove those scratches from sanding again, using the compound, starting with the green pad, which is the most firm. And it takes a good 3 or 4 rounds with the green pad, cleaning it off in between each time before we get it down so you can barely see the scratches. And then every other pad we only have to do once. And then once we put the final polishes on, I've signed the back, I've stamped the back, then we keep all of our rounds and smaller pieces in these amazing pizza boxes. They are so handy dandy and make things really easy to store, keep them safe, keep them dust free, and we can just take them right off the shelf and stick them in the car and transport them to the show. And Keith does all of the heavy lifting for me. He's my hero. He does it all back and forth, bringing everything in while I sit there and start to organize things. Can't do too much until he can get there and we get the walls put up and then get the paintings off the table and then we can start really going at it. So that's how we do it. Now it's time to sell and have fun, meet new people. Here's all my jewelry. I just really enjoy going to these craft fairs, and it's just another part of why I love doing my art. I get to meet amazing people, have fun, and make beautiful things. So I hope this video helps somebody. It's not easy to get your resin absolutely beautiful. And if you can't keep putting coats on because you found debris, then the next best thing is to, after your second coat, just start spot sanding and then buff those spots out with a buffer. It might be a longer process, but it works. It works for us, and even if our pieces get damaged while in transport, you can also fix scratches this way. So I hope we helped, and I hope you enjoyed the video. But before you leave, let me show you some behind the scenes footage. This is the snowstorm that we had to deal with the week after Thanksgiving. It started the day after Thanksgiving and went for like 3 or 4 days. We had really the first 2 days, we had a total of like 37 inches of snow up here in Erie, Pennsylvania. It was crazy. Here's Keith trying to get out to our pole barn to get our snow blower, which as you could see was kind of overwhelmed. So luckily a friend, our neighbor, came and plowed us out. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we don't have any more storms like that. Happy holidays from me and my family. Make sure you leave a like. I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. And leave a comment. Let's chat. Coming up next, Bill Roberson Art. And then following him, Mary from Acrylic Art by Mary. And this week, Billy of BCC Arts is off. So next week, she'll be back. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep creating.